Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show where we talk about deep and interesting topics and try to get to the heart of the idea through different perspectives.
But if you are joining us for the first time tonight, please give the video and the channel a like and a follow because we do random giveaways, things like that, so it doesn't hurt to stay active.
Speaking of staying active, don't forget to jump in that chat. You are a part of this conversation as much as we are, because, of course, Meta Perspective Podcast isn't meta
without your perspective.
Boom.
Nailed it.
Speaking of perspectives, what is your perspective of tonight's show?
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about self-improvement. This is something that we've both been into for a long time now. It takes some work. There are some tips, tools, tricks, things like that we're going to share. Maybe include some personal experiences, things like that. But it's an endeavor that will change your life and is definitely worth doing. Makes you live a more fulfilling life experience, and has benefits with success and anything that you want to accomplish. You're going to have to improve yourself, and it's only going to make it easier or better to get to your goals. So we're going to kind of dive into that tonight a little bit.
I like it.
So yeah, I guess starting out the conversation, there's a couple different aspects of the self that can be improved. There's your health, your mental, whether that's intelligence or just kind of your outlook on life. There's kind of your life situation or what a lot of people can equate to success, like your monetary or material or not necessarily material, but just what you have to show for it, what you've accomplished, things like that. And then there's kind of more of like the spiritual side. And all of these things are, worth improving. A deficit in one area is going to lead to, downsides in the other area. So, you have to be well-rounded. You have to improve each of these facets of your life in order to fully get the best experience that you can. And I think a lot of it comes down to your mental state, your mental, your framing of the situation. A lot of people struggle with the idea of doing something challenging because it's hard to do. It takes effort. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do. So a lot of people actually don't even try, or they might try a little bit and fail, and that's just part of it. Like, you got to fail at some point, and you learn from it and all that. But with so much easy button stuff in our world today, in our society, most people don't even consider self-improvement really an aspect of their life. And there's a whole sect of people that are trying to improve themselves, and there's a lot of other content creators, things like that have made a lot of good, guides and bits of information from that. We've followed a lot of those people. We've learned a lot of things. We've done things in our life that have improved over time, and it's not an easy fix. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's a lifelong journey, and that's an important thing to realize. Just realize now that if you want to start improving yourself, as soon as you stop, you're going to stagnate in some area. So it's a constant, lifelong endeavor, but it leads to a lot of great benefits.
Yeah, constant improvement. Almost immediately you'll start to notice benefits just of controlling thoughts, kind of finding that stabilization with yourself. And that right there, you're going to feel like a totally different working person. So immediately you're going to notice benefits. of an end to kind of like self-sabotage and unnecessary pain, which just results in more focus on the things you don't like and the things that make you unhappy, and excuses for why you don't need to try to fix those or better those, because, well, there's just so many and this is another. When you get in control and you notice, like, okay, most of the way I react to stuff is a reaction to what I'm going through. But if I can kind of change my perception of what I'm going through and why I'm going through it, then maybe I can change how I react.
Yeah, you gain a little
and
control.
create a new habit. What this is all about is becoming well-rounded. You want to, like you said, you don't want even a part of you to become stagnant, because it does just like dry out there, and you almost can't. You'll notice it and have to fix it. Because part of bettering yourself is noticing a pattern. Once you notice a pattern, you're like, okay, there is essentially a right and a wrong. There is a way for me to do this and the right way for me to do this.
Yeah.
I can be focused on money and build myself into this type of person. Yeah, I have the control. Yeah, I'm right in why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I'm missing well-roundedness that factors everything else in, everybody else in, and other parts of me in. Well-rounded is every level, all around. It's full, all encompassing.
Yeah.
So, if you're really looking to better yourself in an all-encompassing, like, I am a well-rounded person kind of way, it is going to be a struggle. But hopefully this episode kind of gets to people that there's not shortcuts in this. It is hard, but there are ways to go through this, I believe, more confidently, to where you can get to your end result quicker than we did, trying to get to certain places in our life that we had planned, while also trying to understand how to navigate it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of pitfalls that we'd go through where you think you're getting somewhere, but then you slip up and that sets you back. But if you kind of know what to look for, you can just keep pressing on and keep getting where you need to go, while still understanding the process.
So stick around for the whole episode. Again, we got the chat pulled up here. We can respond to anything you guys say. And if you leave a comment watching this after the episode's aired live, we'll certainly respond to you and even maybe do follow-up conversations on this. But we promised you guys a guide. So let's start at the beginning.
Chapter 1.
We'll call this part 1 or volume 1. So we kind of discussed a little bit about this and how we're going to break it up this episode before we started. And I think the best place to start with all this is framing or really your psychological state towards a journey of self-improvement. Because if you notice, most people, or a lot of people, I don't know about most, but a lot of people don't have the drive to have self-improvement. A lot of people, like you said, are reactive. These people are living life and responding to outside external things, and then they're just trying to navigate it. But self-improvement is all about kind of gaining a little bit of the control, bettering yourself so you're more prepared for what's going to come. So next time you need to react to something, now you're more equipped. Now you're more moldable. You're more, what's the word? You're
More elastic.
Elastic. There's a better word out there, but
Formidable.
Yes, you're more prepared.
I know what you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
But
you're more you're more able to navigate the trials and tribulations of what life throws at you. Which
adaptable.
Yes,
Nailed it.
I think that's it.
I think it was too.
And that's the thing too. Is like you got to understand that you're always going to have setbacks. You're always going to have wrenches thrown in your gears, and that at one point in my life, I thought that I was reactive. I was, getting down or feeling down about things that would happen. I would try to do something and it didn't work out. You can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as, either a learning experience or at least you gained something. And like this first volume is all about, just framing and the psychological way that you process, where you are, where you want to be, where you've been. These things are all moldable. Like if you had a tough upbringing or a terrible life, and you're at this point in your life, you're saying, I want to make a change. Well, you can't consider your life a terrible life because there's so much that had gotten you to this point that you've actually learned and benefited from. So that's the first step, is you can't have a negative view of past or future, because it's always, the past is always going to cause regret. The future is always going to cause anxiety. So you have to frame your mind in the current moment of where you're at, regardless of what happened before, regardless of what might happen in the future. You're saying, these things from my past, maybe we can come up with an example of a way to frame something.
Well, kind of an idea I have is
like taking something harmful and framing it in a way that's not so harmful or normal.
So, kind of an example I have. Number one, like with all of this stuff, we need, like, everybody should keep in mind that your emotions very much are like a magnet. We are like mini gods. I am not God. I did not create this world, but I am almost like a mini God within my own reality, where I do have some kind of weird mystical abilities to
a creator in some
to shape. Yeah, a creator. We are made in the image. So what does that mean? We are creators. We shape our own realities. So I cannot shape your reality, but I can shape mine. So if my reality is, I hate myself, then my reality is going to reflect me more things that are going to support that, because that is what I have chosen to believe. If I choose to believe that I hate myself, then my life is going to keep giving me examples. I'm going to keep having pitfalls where I make mistakes and give myself more examples where it's like, see, this is another reason why I'm just a piece of shit. And now I'm depressed, and now I want to drink because I hate myself. And now the drinking caused me to black out and do something stupid. There's another reason I hate myself. And you just keep digging yourself lower. Why? Because that's the reality you're creating. So the emotions you're feeling are very much shaping that reality that's coming back at you. So I like to think of it as like, if you're thinking of something that just makes you laugh, it makes you feel like you want to laugh. The feeling you have is silly, happy, fun, funny. You're not going to think of something that makes you laugh, and for some reason you just feel this feeling of shame and anger and pain. That's not going to happen. What is going through your mind ultimately is shaping things, because that's the emotions that you're putting out. So you want to get some control over your thoughts.
And I thought of a perfect example, actually.
Well, just
go ahead.
I think because my last part was my example of like I had a thing with family. Where one of the things I wanted to start doing was trying to reconnect a relationship that I felt, I had enough of a part in the downfall or deterioration of that relationship in my family, that I was like, I'm going to rebuild it. It's my reality. I'm going to rebuild it. What I noticed was, while being kind, while being more open-minded, while I changed the way I reacted, they didn't. So when they would react negatively back to me, I would get upset. And I'd be like, this isn't fair. And at first it was, this isn't fair. I'm being so kind. Like, this really is all them. This really is their fault. It's not me. And then I had to stop and go, well, hold on. What do I want? I want a better relationship with the family.
Yeah.
Why am I projecting and acting like they should also want that? It doesn't matter if they want that or not. It's what I want. If I want a better relationship, it shouldn't matter how they treat me, because I'm the one who decides how this relationship is going to go.
And that's gaining control there. I mean,
suddenly my perspective, when they get upset or come at me, I totally understood. It's like, you would expect me maybe to be kind of condescending, or you're getting ready for me to say some sleight of hand stuff. Like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let that work out of you, because you're justified to be reacting this way because you're upset. Why am I acting nice? Because I'm upset at what's happened. Just because I'm choosing to break that cycle does not put me above or below you. It just means that if I react to you not taking part in the changing of the cycle, what am I really doing here? If I genuinely want a better relationship because I care about family, I'm going, to keep pushing through. And it worked. Over time, they started calming down because they realized, like, when I came into a conversation, my gloves weren't up. And when they started throwing some punches, I just dodge a few and I just keep going on without swinging. And they're like, after a while, they run out of steam. They're like, I'm not going to punch at you because none of them land and you're not swinging back. So maybe I'll just join the conversation. And that's when things started getting better, was when I changed my perspective of what I was going through, even while I was trying to change it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I want. Why am I reacting negatively to the circumstance of what I want? If I just focus on what I want, then that's where I'll get. If I let other people try to affect that, because like you said, you're going to have the ups and downs. You're going to have the hurdles. It's like, if I want big muscles, every time I push that bar up, it's going to hurt. If I act surprised every time that bar goes up, like, oh, that hurt, what am I expecting? Do I want big muscles? You're going to keep going. You're going to do 3 more sets.
Well, that's actually works into my example. And you had a very good example of a complex situation where framing allows you to break out of the negative the negative concepts and situations that you have been struggling with, reframing it and able to move forward in the best way possible. And that's really what it's about. It's thinking about, how can I frame this in the best way possible to where I still get to my goal, it causes the least amount of pain along the way, and I see the benefits during the process. Because it's a hard thing to, like, lock yourself in a basement and paint your masterpiece without anyone coming down and saying, oh, that looks really good. Because you're going to spend all that time, all the energy, and you don't have any feedback. So it's really kind of, you're battle testing your own framing when you kind of restructure these things in your mind, and then you go out and experience it, and then it starts to build the foundation of a better person.
And what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
Because if I have to analyze that, like, well, I'm the one who wants to try to make the situation better. So if they still think I'm the old me, I can't give them the old me.
Right. They're going to assume.
So it's like, well, what is the old me? What is the new me? What is it to be kind and gentle and loving? What is it to be able to take a punch like this? What is it? And as you start to learn these things, that's what helps give you the tools and experience to grow in these other areas, as far as becoming well-rounded, where you say, if I want to be a better person, suddenly I'm not thinking about, like, what's my view from a movie I saw of a good person.
Right.
It's more of like, what actually is a good person? Like, what is selflessness? Because you see him in the movie and you're like, the guy looks so selfless. But do you ever take the time to be selfless when it presents itself? Or do you ever stop and think about, when you get money, something you could do with it? Or is it always you? So it's like, there's a lot of parts of us that we just look over. We're like, I'm a selfless person. I'm just never in a situation where I need to be selfless. Everybody has something. It's like, that's not true. It's like, a selfless person goes out of their way to give because they see where they can help. And
that's maybe like volume 3, like where you ultimately end up. But I think, at least, like, on a base level, you had a good example about working out.
I got excited. But yeah.
So, like, people that, and I'm going to tie this to framing, but if you're a person that has worked out before, maybe you felt embarrassed at the gym, maybe you didn't really do that well, maybe you're not great at basketball or whatever. We all know those people that say, oh, I don't like to work out. And it's just like, it's a thing in their mind where they're afraid of it. They don't like it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to push themselves to be able to do it. And then there's maybe someone in the middle that, maybe wants to, doesn't know how, that kind of thing, doesn't feel confident, but isn't against it. But then, like, people that do work out, and if you ask them about it, it's like, I don't think of all the times where it was super hard and I pushed myself to the end, and, it was a terrible, horrible experience that I had. I don't even think about it. It's like, that is what it takes. And, framing your mind towards a self-improvement thing, like, when you overcome the struggles, the struggle is not going to be in your mind anymore. It's not going to be the thing that tells you shouldn't do this anymore. It's going to be the thing that said, oh, I struggled, I got through it, and now I'm going to do it again tomorrow because I know that I've already been through it and I can do it again. And, it's like that's a very physical, basic example of what I'm talking about, where if you worked out once or twice, you didn't do that good, or you didn't really go, you didn't have the discipline to carry yourself further, you're going to have a negative view of it. But you have to frame your mind in a way where, this is something that is going to be hard. It's going to be hard tomorrow. It's going to be hard next week. It's going to be hard 3 years from now.
But I need to tilt the scales.
Right. You need to do it
that's hard,
anyway.
but like, what's it for? What's it shaping? How can I get more out of this?
Right.
And it's like you said with like basketball, for example. You're trying out for a basketball team, and you conquer that. You get the physical part down. You're working out. You're getting stronger for the team. You've been working your legs out. You're getting your jump up a little higher. You're like, okay, Then you get on the court, and the other people trying out are really good. And this is another part where it really comes into play, where you stand on your belief system. Now, this isn't just like a religious thing. This is everything you think about. What is your belief system and everything? So if I say all I want is to be the best basketball player, and I go to the team, and there's two different kids. Kid A looks at everybody and says, these kids are really good. Like, there's no way I stand a chance against these kids.
Yeah.
That kid internally will mentally talk himself out of what he tells everybody is his dream, what he wants to do. Now he's going to talk himself out of it because of how intimidating it looks. It looks like it's a lot of work.
It's staring at the foot of the mountain.
Yeah, it's like, how are you going to say this is a passion of yours if you don't want to put in any work? Now, the other kid, he has the passion. He has the excitement. He wants to be the best basketball player, and he believes he will be.
Yeah.
He believes it. He also believes, if he has to work out, he's going to work out. He accomplished that too. Now they're both on the court, but when he sees all these kids, he goes, wow, they're really good. But I got something they don't. So if I watch them, I can get a little of what all of them have. And you see it from the best, the greats, the best of the greats. You look at like when it comes to martial arts, everybody knows Bruce Lee. But what was Bruce Lee's thing? It's like, I'm going to learn from the best here. I'm going to learn from the best here. I'm going to get a little bit of everything from some of the bests. And then even if I haven't mastered it, I will have the best technique and the best form for all of these heavy hitting, offensive and defensive attacks, to where I've become well-rounded in the craft by studying all of the people who have mastered it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's what it is to be well-rounded in life. It's to say, if I want to get on this team, I can't look at these kids as intimidating and better than me. I have to try to figure them out. Because if I figure them out, I might not just learn some stuff from them, but I might learn them and their moves. And if I learn their moves, they're not getting past me now. And suddenly I'm better than one of the kids on the team. Then I climb up over another, and I become the best of my team. And now we're at the, we're in senior year. We have scouts coming in. It's like now suddenly I'm the one everybody's intimidated by.
Yeah.
And it's because I didn't let intimidation stop me, because if I felt intimidation, then that's going to go into my mind. And if that's in my mind, I'm going to talk myself out of it.
It's going to go into your body too.
Yeah, it's like, if you want to be better, you got to push past all that stuff and say, no, doubt, you're not going to get in my head. Like, I'm going to be the best of the best.
And this is also a framing exercise. And I want to try to articulate this in a way that makes sense to anyone that's has a situation that you're struggling through. And, you're listening to us say, oh, it's about framing your mind, like changing your beliefs and then seeing it the right way. Well, like, how does that mean? If you're in a very, difficult situation, it might be hard to make sense of that. And like, just like how you were saying about the kid that, decides to not be intimidated. Well, who's to say that you can't frame your mind to say, okay, my advantage, I might be not the tallest kid. I might not be the strongest kid. I'm not even that good at basketball, but my advantage is to study the people that I'm playing against, realize I don't need to be intimidated, and I can learn from them in order to beat them. And it's like a simple framing exercise of taking your situation and trying to look at it from the best light to lead to improvements in yourself, whether it's insurmountable or not. If it's insurmountable, you have to basically ignore that fact. If that's what you really want, that's what you want to do, that you're going to have to psychologically get around that somehow. So you need to come up with a way where it makes sense to you inherently that it's still okay to do this, knowing that you're probably going to fail. And a good example of this is trying to be more social, especially with women or people of the opposite sex. I mean, guys especially are, the main ones who approach women, and there's always this fear of rejection. But if you frame it in your mind in a way where, rejection is not a scary thing, you're just going to talk to somebody because, deep down, that you're trying to better your social skills. But if you just start talking to somebody and somebody rejects you, you could just simply say, for the psychological effect of, oh, well, I'm just kind of, I don't come here often, and I was just trying to, get to know some people, but, thanks anyway. And, I hope you have a good night, and then just move on to the next thing. That's a lot, it's a lot less psychologically damaging than being like, oh, okay, and walking away with your tail between your legs.
We're not doing anything because
it's all about how you frame it in your head.
Yeah. If you say,
one,
I don't know,
you have a benefit from rejection. The other way, you get shut down and discouraged from future attempts at approach.
and that's a lot of guys' problems with girls in general is they'll look and say, well, I'm not going to go up because I don't know what I would say. It's like, well, that's because your frame of mind and everything is wrong. What are your intentions to talk to her? It's like part of you disagrees with your intentions. That's really what it comes down to. You have to reframe. Why are you going over there? To get to know somebody, to have a conversation, to practice talking.
It's very innocent. It's not approaching to have sex.
And if your brain goes to, but what if it goes bad and she hates me? Well, again, you have to remind yourself, what are you doing this for? Now, if you're like, well, she's attractive, now get that out of your head. Say, well, that's inappropriate. If I want to go and get to know somebody, just try to talk to somebody. It's inappropriate for me to be thinking about this right now.
Don't focus on the outcome.
I need to think about the person, not whatever this is. Get that out and focus on the person and listen and try to get to know the person and talk to the person like it's a person. And then there's no intimidation. Obviously easier said than done, but the idea is you have to acknowledge your own intentions.
Also, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, if you're around friends and you're joking around and a woman who intimidates you comes into the group, but you're still able to be yourself and all that, and she ends up talking to you, why? Because you're comfortable in your environment. What it comes down to is just analyze yourself. Are you comfortable in your environment? What are your intentions? Like, just try to get to know who you are in different settings and challenge yourself to just have basic conversation with all types of people. And that'll help you figure out who you are, how you work, and you'll be like, okay, I see what I do works with people and what I do doesn't. I guess my tone of voice, how I carry myself, all of these things say this.
And this can also be a fun exercise. Like, this can be a chance to use your creative side. And a good example of that is one of the guys that one of my best friends from college is my first college roommate, we're freshmen or whatever. And we're trying to figure out what we want to do. Neither of us figured it out. And we also didn't become what we thought we would at that time. But, at the time he was, I went to a school that had a lot of, it was kind of a film school. It was one thing they were known, UNC Wilmington. It had a big Screen Gem Studios or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities there and a lot of, movies and shows being filmed in that area. And he's like, you know what? Like, I've always been a big movie buff. Like, I just want, I would love to be a director, but I don't have an experience. I don't even think that's possible. I'm like, Gabe. His name's Gabe. I'm like, dude, think about this. If from right now, this moment, if you lived your whole life thinking as a director, doing the things that a director would do, you know, responding to people as if you had that knowledge, or just putting yourself in the mind of being a director. You don't think that over 20 years of doing that you wouldn't be a director at one point in time in that 20 years? And he's like, you know what? That makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, and it just starts with the frame, because, you know, getting into a new skill or something that you're not good at, like, you're going to suck at it. But like, if you have the right framing in your mind and you have the right, approach to everything psychologically, and you can get creative with it. Like, to tell him that he just has to think like a director all of a sudden, that's a weird thing. Like, I don't know what a director thinks. Like, that's not really a legit thing to say, but it makes sense to us because it is that way. Like, you're going to look at things differently. You're going to have an artistic view of things that you see where you didn't think about it before.
On top of that, because you're focused on it, you're going to start, other directors are going to start popping out to you. You're going to have a different respect for directors now.
Yeah.
Because you've put so much focus on them in the conversation. Now suddenly you start to see the difference in these directors. And then now you start to become almost obsessed with, like, you know, the difference between like Quentin Tarantino and, you know, whoever else. You know, like, it's such different styles, but like, I could do this.
And
I have my own vision. I have my own this. Like, that's what all it is a belief of saying I can.
Yeah.
And then and having patience.
And then you're more likely to, you know, stay up 2 hours later than you should
Because of
looking
passion.
at videos of different directors and other people analyzing scenes and stuff. It's like you wouldn't have done that unless you had adopted that frame of mind where this is something that I want, and now I'm going to frame everything that I do and think and react to around this premise, this frame.
And the beauty of how this stuff works too is the reminders that you get. You'll get your own reminder to you, and there's no other way to acknowledge it. Where one day your buddy, like 3 years later, is going to be sitting there, and he's going to say to himself internally, he's going to say, "Man, I really think like a director." Like, ironically, because somebody's going to be like, "Geez, I'm like, this is annoying." He's like, "Man, I really do think like a director." And then he's going to stop and go, that bulb's going to go off, and he's going to say, "Oh my God." It's like I just fast forwarded 3 years, and all of a sudden I'm in the moment where that's how obvious it is, where it feels like, did I just jump through time?
Yeah.
Because this little thought I had just clicked something that made me go, like, it brings that memory that strong
Yeah.
to the first time you said it, and you're like, that kicked all of this off. All I had to do was have patience and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And here I am frustrating somebody because I can't stop talking in a way where obviously it shows I think like a director. It's like, holy crap, it's happening.
So, and this is a good transition to volume 2 of this discussion. But I mean, like what you're saying, it's like everybody needs to start somewhere. The self-improvement journey starts, and then you look back and you realize all of you have accomplished. And it's not necessarily obvious when it's happening because it's hard work, it's grinding, it's doing all these things that you don't like to do. But then, you know, you look back, and that's the feeling that you want to capture to keep you forward. And as a Trish, you know, I would say volume 2 is more like in the moment, like how you overcome once you've been there, and like plateaus and stuff like that, and like getting to that higher level. But like, I think to close out, you know, the framing and the volume 1 of this discussion is you really need to kind of, other than psychologically, you know, creatively framing things a certain way, you need to focus on the why. And the why is very important because, you know, like we were discussing earlier, somebody who says, "Oh, I'm going to be a doctor." I would bet that like 80% of those people that say they want to be a doctor before they are in school, they're basically saying, "I want a job that pays a lot of money." But then when you get, you know, to learn microbiology and biochemistry and all these things that are very complex, you know, the body is the most complex machine that we have, and we don't fully understand it. So for you to be a doctor, you have to at least understand as much as you can to get to the point where you can be a doctor. And that's a lot of mental work. It's a lot of hours. studying tests, certifications, licenses, stuff like that, liability. There's so much involved with that where people just say, I want to be a doctor because I want to make money. But that's your why, then you're not going to get there. It's not going to get you there.
And that's the beauty of the well-roundedness, which is what a lot of religions talk about, especially the Bible. That's kind of a crux of it. It's like, live as Jesus did. You're like, well, why? Well, because the idea of perfection. It's like, well, what is it if I start trying to be humble, trying to be this, trying to be that, trying to be selfless? What is it if I do this stuff? It's like, well, suddenly your mind changes. Your frame of mind, the way you view things. So if you really want to be a surgeon, surgeons make tons of money. Then you go to the school and you're like, all the work I have to do, all the this, all the that. I don't ever get to sleep. I'm working nonstop. Suddenly you're getting overwhelmed and you're starting to question if you can do it. Now, meet somebody who's just a good, well-rounded person. Now, that person is going to say, well, why do you want to be a surgeon? Well, I want to be a surgeon because I can't imagine anything better, any better feeling that I want to strive for than the feeling of being able to help somebody and give them more life. It's like, wow, that's noble. That's it? They're like, that's it. Like, it's not for the girls. It's not for the glory. It's for that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, well, damn, I can't argue with that. You're doing this for the feeling of saving a life.
And that's
because you saw a moment when you were a kid where a paramedic helped your dad and saved him, and everybody was like, he's a hero, and the parents were like, we have to go visit him and bring him this to thank him for what he did, even though it's just his job. It's like I don't want the fame and the glory. I want to be that person that brings the family together, that saves a life. And it's like, you're not going to outclass him in school. This guy's gonna have straight A's.
like with all the
He
cancer
loves
research, the billions of dollars have been donated to cancer charities. The one guy who's going to solve something is going to be the guy whose mother was killed by cancer, and he just wants to solve it for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
You see a lot of that stuff. I mean, I have examples I don't want to bring up, but there's people like political, all that kind of stuff, who are like, I follow, this type of like conspiracy or something going on. No, I'll say it. It's already happened, but like 9/11, one of the big pushers in the 9/11 files, who's been doing like an absurd amount of research, following everything, contacting departments, putting everything together, is a woman who's, I guess I want to say, husband, I believe, died in the Twin Towers.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know her name, but
So it's like, she is like spearheading. Like she the amount of research and stuff she's gotten. Like most people, if they heard it, they'd be like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. She didn't either.
yeah.
But it was the fact that somebody she loved was taken from her. She didn't get answers, and she was like, I'm gonna find the answers one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's that fire you put under somebody. So you witness, your little brother get saved by a paramedic. You don't want to become a paramedic for the girls and money. You want to become a paramedic because of how that moment made you feel. You want to give that to other people. There's nothing more righteous. There's nothing more well-rounded than somebody who's like, I want to strive to do a career that gives back. It's like, well, what do you get out of it? The feeling of you being happy and your mother getting to live another 5 years. You're like, thank you. It's like, damn, like you can't attack that. It's a perfect, righteous decision. And that, again, like you said, it's the why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? And do you really want to do it? And if you really want to do it, you have to start to believe that these obstacles are there to help build you into what you want to get to.
And I think that works on the flip side too. A lot of people try, to do things and they don't fully understand the why. And I'll give you a perfect example, and it's going to be very generalistic, and it may piss people off, but most women don't actually want to work out. And they don't want to improve their physical bodies. They essentially maintain. They just don't eat bad things, and then they might go walking or running or something like that. Whereas as a man, or at least myself, I'm I've got a fiance. I'm good in that regard. But most men want to achieve some kind of mate that is above their status or something like that, and it takes a physical body, to do that. But when you don't have that, dad bod. That's the thing. It's like most people lose motivation. You have no reason to self-improve your physical health because you have already achieved your goal. But like the why needs to be more deeply rooted in that. Like if you want to, like I want to be physically healthy, so by the time I'm in my 50s or 60s, I'm still strong and I'm not going into atrophy for the next, for the rest of my life. And, I tried to work with my mom on this. It's like, it's not about losing weight. It's about gaining strength. It's about functionality, like your physical, wellness, like your ability to do things and go on walks with, me and my sister when you're 75. Those things, now are going to lead to a lifetime of self-improvement where your physical health is going to always be taken care of and everything's going to be fine. But most people, their why is, I don't want to be fat, or I want to look good for somebody else to have sex with me, or whatever. And as soon as you get that thing, you no longer care. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a more, like you're saying, well-rounded.
Deeper meaning.
Yeah. These things go deeper because certain, like we talked about the pillars of your life, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the social and external. Each one of these things interacts with each other. So if you're failing at your physical self, you're going to be less social. People are going to look at you less. That's just the reality of it. So, when you ignore certain things like that, and you don't focus on improving yourself in all these areas, then you're going to fall behind, and it's going to bring the rest of it down. So the why is important because it's not just to get an outcome. It's not just for an end, a finish line. And that's what a lot of people do is that once I hit the finish line, I'll be happy. Once I hit the finish line, I'll be successful. Once I'm here, I'll be able to, do what I want or have freedom. Once I retire in 35 years, it's like, no, do the things you want now, frame your mind. And then why are you doing all this? Because if you're doing it for something that's not going to actually, I'm not going to say give you satisfaction, but if it's something that is short-lived and satisfaction gained and then it's gone, you got to come up with something better than that.
You need something where at the end of the life you look back and you're like, I'm not just ready to go, but like, look what I made.
Like don't learn guitar so you could get the girl of your dreams. Learn guitar so you can teach your kid one day when you guys are camping, or you can pick one up and just serenade a group of friends. Like no sexual or any type of outcome that was the reason why you might have started to want to learn it in the first place. Building skills, things like that, like doing art. Like, don't do art because you want to sell it one day. Do art because you can create something beautiful and give it to as a gift.
In one way or another, you want to add value. And I would say the best example is like millionaires and billionaires. Everybody complains like they don't do anything with their money. Like, what about all of us? They're not paying their people enough. You hear that from a lot of people. But then at the same time, how many people hit the lottery and then blow their money until they're broke and end up dying from some crazy, like, there's always crazy stories. Why? Because we don't know what we would do with that much money. But we want to judge people who spent their life trying to accumulate it. So it's like, if your mind is that focused on money, again, that's my point of being well-rounded. It's like, it's easy to say they should be sharing their money. But if you hit the lottery, you blow your money, you're in debt. Now you're doing crack on the side of the road because you partied too hard with your money. And you don't know how to come back from it. And your life's falling into a spiral as you prepare for your inevitable OD.
Yeah.
Versus becoming well-rounded and getting to a point where it's like, hey, I'm getting money. With this extra money, instead of just making more money, I already have extra money. How can I apply this back into the community where I can say I'm doing something? And then maybe you start doing it and you're the only one and you're like, I don't care. Like I have a vision for what's going to happen here. Then somebody else sees what you're building and they're like, hey, this fountain, like that you did that? It's like, yeah, I have this company, I make extra money and I'm well-rounded. So I want to give some of it back to the area. The guy goes, I love this. I love the fountain. I've always thought it would be great for like this whole like kind of thing going down the whole stretch of here. And it's like, I want to get in on this. Let's start a thing. Now you started a foundation that's 20 people. That's how this stuff happens.
Well,
And now all these people, now you have one of the nicest towns. It's like your real estate is shooting up. It's like you have just brought your entire community up because of one act that made other people want to join in. But if you sit there and you say, well, I'm not well-rounded, I focus on money and the benefits money brings, not the benefits of being well-rounded with money, but just the benefits of money. I'm not worried about me.
yeah.
I just want
short-term gains.
I don't want to grow this. I just want to entertain this.
Yeah.
So you just go for money. What happens? Everybody, the whole world complains that you're selfish. And you're like, I don't care. It's like, okay. But like, who are you? Are you somebody who with that money would share it? Because it's hard to judge people if nobody's really following this type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, so, and I agree. I agree with you. I think that's kind of like, that's probably volume 3 too. And that's like once you reach there, but not to discredit what you said.
No, yeah.
And I think there's an area in between where once you, kind of just to rehash everything that you said, once you frame your mind a certain way, once you have your goals clear and you're working on all these aspects of your life and now you're starting to see results and you're beyond the start, how do you sustain that? That's kind of like the midterm, and that's a struggle too, because you're going to plateau. As we were saying earlier, things are going to go wrong. You're going to have curveballs thrown. Your plans will never be what you envision them to be. That's just a fucking law of life that I've grown accustomed to. But it's going to be you're going to be tested, and that's kind of where discipline comes in. It's doing the things that you don't want to do because you have a greater goal in mind or a vision that you're heading towards. Same thing with the gym. It's like it sucks every day. But you're not going to look back and think about how much it sucks. You're going to look back and see the benefits. But you're going to have to continue that and sustain that. And that is a struggle too. Once you start, it's going to be tough. You're going to go through these ups and downs. So maybe I got to pee pretty bad.
Take an intermission before part 2?
You have to go to?
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest an intermission before part 2.
Well...
and then you said pee, and I was like, oh, I got to
You go, we'll switch. I'll just keep talking.
Copy that.
We won't let it stop.
I'll keep listening.
Anyway, guys, if you are joining us for the first time, please give the channel a follow and subscribe to the video, like and subscribe to the channel. And let us know what you're going through, what things you would like to accomplish. Maybe share some stories or something, or like what you liked about this, because we want to hear from you guys, and we're trying to get some more live viewers here, and so we can respond to what you guys say, and we can kind of make you part of the conversation, because this is just me and Alex being ourselves, and we've been friends for over 10 years, probably going on closer to 15 now, and we talk about this stuff all the time. So this is nothing new to us. We do this podcast because we enjoy it, because we feel like we have something to share, and I hope that you guys will get a benefit from it. So please let us know if you feel that way. So yeah, about sustaining the motivation, and this kind of brings up an interesting idea about the motivational cycle. And I didn't necessarily come up with this idea. This is something that I think I read. Maybe a psychologist came up with it. But essentially, motivation is a circle. It's an action motivation circle. So sometimes in your life you feel motivated to do a certain thing. You're like, oh, I really want to paint right now. Like, I have the motivation. So you paint, and then that's the action. You're motivated to do the action. But sometimes you're not motivated. Well, how do you do the action when you're not able to sustain the motivation? Well, that's what the action motivation cycle is. You do the action, and then it will motivate you again. So, just bringing up art or painting or whatever.
Like working out is a great example, because once you finish, I'd say about at least halfway through your set, you've completely broken it. You're like, I'm feeling it. You want to keep going harder, and then you're just pushing yourself to exhaustion. And then once you're done, you're like, man, that was good. You're like, and then you have this fire where it's like, I wish I could just keep going. The next day you wake up, you're like, I'm going to do that shit.
Right.
It's like, but it's that habit of and that memory of like, oh no, but it feels good.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the whole
the
idea.
same as the kid who saved your little brother or something. You're like, no, I know the feeling of accomplishing a goal, and that feeling of like really sticking it out and like and knowing that there's progress and accomplishment. And it's like, these feelings mean something. I want that back.
Yeah.
Because I remember how well the rest of my day went after that.
And that's the hard part of volume 2, is that it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I've come very far. But you're not going to see that in the moment. It's going to be grind. And if you're waiting for motivation, it's not going to come. And that's what I was talking about, the action motivation cycle is, if you want to accomplish something, if you're on the path and you've already gotten to a certain point and you want to go further, but you're not sure how, like, just like working out or painting or whatever, you have to go do the action, even if you're not motivated. And that's where discipline comes in. It's doing what you want to do, or doing what you don't want to do, even though you don't want to do it. And that action and starting it is going to cause the motivation. And like a perfect example is like cleaning your house or cleaning your room, like especially as a kid or something. It's like, I don't want to clean my room, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as you start picking up your socks, you fold your clothes, now you're going to make the bed. Now you're going to, do the next thing. Now you're going to start dusting because...
Clean off your tabletops.
Yeah,
and
you clean off the tabletop.
start organizing your stuff.
Now it's all dusty, so you got to dust it. And it's like that motivates you to act more. And that's where it keeps going round and around and around. So that's how you break out of that cycle, is that if you don't want to do something, you just got to fucking do it. Because it's not going to be so bad once you start, and then it's gonna get easier, and you're gonna continue the goal. Give your thoughts on that. I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, I'd even go a step further to say part of the thing you should look forward to is what you can catch out of it. You could be cleaning your room, getting the motivation, and that motivation motivates you to, start dusting and doing all of that. But then while you're doing all this cleaning, you come across some action figure or something you forgot you had. And you start to put it in a certain spot, and then you want to rearrange. You change the way your room looks. You start to get a new idea. I mean, a new vision, even just for your room and your layout. These are organizational things that also do apply to your mind. You start to see a way you can arrange things to make yourself more comfortable. Pushing yourself to accomplish these chores, get these tasks done. That along with that motivation and that fire for organization and having things, put where they need to be, directly reflects the mind. Where in your mind you can categorize things and start to lay things out properly, and you get that you get that I need my word buddy. When I forget words, my word buddy. Discipline. Oh man, just seeing you walk it down helps me remember the word. But you get that discipline from doing these things you don't want to do that have satisfying outcomes. You know, you accomplish something, you worked hard to do it, you know, you organize your room. That's going to help your mind because you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone to get something accomplished, and you like the end result. But you know, that's going to translate to the mind where you're going to I mean, you really will have fun doing this, where you start to organize your thoughts, organize and categorize everything. And before you know it, you start to see a person you're building and you're like, no, this seems right. This is me. This doesn't seem like a me I built. This is me.
It's like a video game.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier. It's like that show, Solo Leveling or something. You know, like you're gaining your skills. You're reading audiobooks when you drive to work, or, you know, listening. You know, you're working out a couple times a week. You're working on a skill. You're working towards a career or something. You know, like that's it can be fun if you go back to volume 1. You frame it right in your mind. This can be fun. You can see the benefits as you're doing it, so it makes doing the work not as hard if you can see where you want to be, see where you've been, and that's that perfect middle ground. Because a lot of people give up in the middle ground. Starting is probably the hardest, but most people don't make it past the middle ground.
Yeah.
And that was one thing. So we both do Wing Chun, our Sifu. One of the things he says is the part that people quit at is the middle of the teachings, because they either plateau or they lose motivation or something like that, where it's like,
Or they break a leg.
yeah. Well, no, I'm not.
I know, I'm too.
but he said, like, most people, you know, in order to get to the next level, they have to have a reason or something that drives them forward, or at least a benefit in the short term for doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you want to learn it just so you have some self-defense, and then you get to the point where you believe you have self-defense. If you're not in any immediate threat ever, and you're not using it on the streets, and you're never getting into fights, it's going to be hard to say, I need to perfect this.
Right.
Because you're going to be like, well, I can already use this for defense.
Yeah.
Why would I need to perfect it to a point where I could teach it?
And right, and there's
It's a tough area. That's why a lot of people, it's why it's, you know, fighters make as much money as they do. Because it's one thing to go through the beatings you go through. It's another to learn how to fight to the point where you could take out most dudes on the street. It's another to say, well, I'm going to dedicate my life to just fighting the best.
right.
It's like, that's crazy. Like, you're just going to get the shit beat out of you nonstop. Unless you're that good,
Yeah.
then you're just beating the shit out of people nonstop. I mean, it's such a risky thing. And you have to learn to perfect your art in that craft in order to keep going up. But if you're not willing to dedicate your life to fighting the best of the best for the rest of your life, it's hard to become the best type of fighter.
Right, and
you know,
that's-
you got to look at the best of the best and be like, I'm willing.
And that's
You know?
fine too. Like there's a certain point where you can stop an endeavor, and it's you gain something from it, you learn from it, and then you have something to show for it, and that's totally fine, you know. And
But like you said, it's the passion and the why. It's like, do you want to just kind of know how to defend yourself? Then you can get that defense. But if you're going to spend that much time, money, dedication, I mean, money aside, just that much of your mind and focus.
the energy.
If you're going to spend that much of yourself on something, make sure it's something that you see paying out in your overall future.
Yeah.
Think long terms with everything you do. If I'm going to do this, when I'm older, am I going to be proud of this decision? Is this decision going to pay out? Like, is this something I'm going to want to keep doing? You know, is this something that can grow? Is this something that I could make my own and start as something like what, you know, understand, ask the why, and then try to understand the why. You
And
know?
it's nice once you reach, you know, like I talked earlier about finish lines, and I think that's kind of the volume 1 thought of like, I'll do this so I can get to here, and then I'm happy. That's not what I'm talking about here. Like there is a psychological end to a lot of these things and a lot of these goals. And once you reach your goal, now you can kind of just, you absorb it, you have the benefits of whatever you did. And then, in the future, it will come up. And when it does, it's going to benefit you again. It's not lost from you, but that's not the reason why you stop in the first place. It's the reason why you stop in the middle. But, like to that, and I want to bring in the pillars and all that too, because it's all relates. So, like the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and the external or the social. These things are all factors in breaking through this middle cycle of, the plateaus, the struggles, getting from starting to finish. And, that, like, let's say, like, to go back to the example of students or like learning to be a doctor. It's like, okay, if you're focused on, working out or martial arts or whatever, you have now endorphins. It's more likely that you're going to be studying longer or retaining more. Or, like the spiritual side, like if you're very motivated by helping people for, religious reasons or whatever, you're more likely to keep doing what you're doing because you've already boosted this pillar up, and it's bleeding to the other parts of your life. And, like if you neglect any of these things along the way, that's going to bring down, that's going to, make those plateaus worse, and it's going to end your journey because you're not, like we were saying, well-rounded. It's all about, it's a holistic approach to all of this. So, even getting hung up on certain things, trying to get to the next level, it really helps to focus on other aspects of your life, bring the thing that you want into that, and to make it a cohesive, synergistic kind of goal. Because if you wake up in the morning and you work out, maybe you have the energy to go, learn some more or talk to your boss about something that you didn't feel confident before, or, anything. You go to church and you are now motivated by the sermon, and now you decide to, start this new thing, and, or like you've been struggling and that's the answer you need. So all these things relate. And that's another big point I wanted to make with getting through the middle phase of self-improvement.
Yeah, I think the big thing, kicking it off, starting it off is getting to know yourself, getting to know your thoughts. And then for that second phase, that is the biggest thing is destroying your own obstacles. I think at the heart in your mind, you should have, like, I'm unstoppable. I can do anything. I am capable of doing anything. So I should not limit myself. If I see something that I want to accomplish, there's nothing that can sit in my way. Now, I know things that I could accomplish that I shouldn't, so I stay away. But it should be that simple in your mind. When you come to something, you say, well, I can't do that. Why? You need to understand why you don't think you could accomplish that. It's like there's plenty of things that we could easily sell ourselves like that's out of my league. But we could just as easily say, I'll try it anyway. But instead of sitting there and saying, like, and full of like fear, saying I can't do this, but I'll do it anyway, just forget that you can't do it and try to have fun. And just try to do it having fun. I can't tell you how many video games I play for my first time with some friends and I'm the best on the team. And they're like, dude, that's insane. Like, that's your first, dude, that's crazy. The next game, I'm like, I guess I was pretty good. Terrible the next game, very next game. Why? People say it's beginner's luck. But what it is I have no standards. I have nothing set. I'm a new player, so there's no expectations.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have fun and just try.
You don't feel the judgment. You don't feel the pressure of win or lose.
And I don't know the game, so I don't know the stakes. All I know is this is the goal, and let me try to do it, and I'll have fun. and then I do really well. Now let me take some of that well-roundedness out and say, well, I am good. I have something to prove. I have pride. There's an aspect of me I have an expectation now. I have an expectation for me to uphold how well I'm doing. And now I go into the game trying to be serious, and I get taken out and I get destroyed. Now I'm the worst on the team. Very next game, top to bottom.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes it's something that simple. Like you said, you want to keep the pillars together and you want to recognize these things. And first it seems hard, but as you go through the stuff and you say, I can do anything, once you really believe that, you have to believe it. There's going to be times where a situation pops up and you're going to stop yourself and go, whoa, I might be being a little prideful here. I can see how this is going to bring me down. But if I change it, I'm just going to be giving. Why? Because I don't need to be prideful. I'm so awesome, I can just be that giving. I don't even need it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this dude went from like, look what he has to look what he can give away.
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't even realize how much my status went up in their eyes compared to how much I was trying to make it go.
Right.
You know, take the pride away and
Yeah.
people will have more respect. They will look at you higher. They'll have more admiration. And it's all because of the well-rounded where they go, look at all the stuff he can do and still give to somebody like me. Still take attention to me. Why? Because I'm treating you as if I don't have the stuff. Why? Because I'm well-rounded. I have the stuff because I'm well-rounded. I don't have the stuff despite it. So it's like you see somebody and it's like you can still, a millionaire should still be able to relate to somebody on the bottom.
Right.
Unless it's old money. Like you should understand like where you were.
Yeah, you should train yourself, at least socially, to be able to talk to the millionaire or the bum on the street.
Yeah.
You know, those are two people that yourself should, the chiseling away at your own David, that's the person that you should want to become.
Yeah, you could easily get stutter up and not a word comes to your mind when you meet like Wayne Gretzky or whoever your idol is.
Yeah.
Like whoever that person is that makes you go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm around somebody so talented. Just remember, you could be talking to that same person. You could be talking to a brain surgeon in line and just having a regular conversation like he's a regular dude and not know that he's 10 times more talented than a guy who plays a sport.
Yeah.
He can dissect and re-put together a brain. He can cut your head open, fix your problem, put your head back together, and your brain works normal again. Well, that's more impressive than being the best at hitting this thing. But both take the same amount of focus, the same amount of dedication. The thing is one would, even if I knew he was a brain surgeon, I might have respect for him, but I wouldn't be as intimidated as I would, if I met Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Because he's dead. I'd be like, oh my God. But no, if you met a president or somebody, it's like there's a status, but at the same time, there is this humbling of being well-rounded and saying, I'm talking to you as a person. So, I'm not going to idolize you in any way. You're a normal person.
Yeah.
Same idea. Somebody who's a brain surgeon who's probably more talented and has worked way harder. Prospectively, it's like, but you don't ever really get intimidated by doctors and stuff. It's just like, oh, they get money, they're a doctor. It's not like, hey, this guy went to like 8 years of really, really demanding school. Like, this dude was like hitting the books nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't with his buddies on the ice, slap shots.
Yeah.
No, this guy was doing really boring shit for almost a decade.
And that's a good point of motivation. And I guess,
but we don't idolize them. We don't think they're cool. We don't get tongue-tied around them. I'm just saying, it's all about framing.
I like where you're going with it, and I think we should continue. And I guess just to close off the middle section, like the volume 2, I had one thing that I wanted to bring up that I feel like is very relevant, through anything in your life that you're trying to accomplish. And you started, now you're going through a struggle, and you're trying to get to something, or at least you need a reason to continue on. And I always tell people this because I'm not a very competitive person by nature, but I like to play games. You know, you were talking about games earlier. I like to play board games, video games, things like that, just any type of game. And one thing that I've kind of adopted as my own personal view of things, and I feel like it really helps psychologically, is that I'm not focused on winning or losing. Because that's a very short part of the game, and it only happens for a brief moment at the very end. It's a very brief experience. I like playing the game. I like, the start of it, the bulk of it, and then the end, I could care less. I like playing. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if I suck at this, if I'm good at it. If I'm good at it, I'm going to get the feedback. If I suck at it, I'm going to get the feedback and adjust. But at the end, if I put all this work into it and I lost, I still enjoyed it. If at the end I win, that's great.
A nice quote I heard for that was, not a quote, just some stupid short I saw or something. but the idea was this guy was like, hey, that's really good. I really like that. And was giving this dude all this praise, and he was like, basically like, I can't accept that, And he's like, no, you should be proud of how good you are. And he's like, no, like, I can't take your praise. I can't. He goes, if I take your praise for how good I am, that is me believing that I'm good because you're telling me that. He goes, if I believe that, I have to believe that I'm bad when people tell me I'm bad. Because I do this for me. If other people like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. But I do this for me. And I loved that because it is so true that you can't just sit there and tell yourself, like, it doesn't work. You can pretend it does, but it doesn't. You can't tell yourself everybody thinks that, I have 5 friends who condone how I act. But all my family and anybody who meets me, everybody seems to have a problem with me. But like my 5 friends, they really reinforce that there's nothing wrong with me, that I'm a bad bitch. If in that frame, it's like, to some extent you're lying to yourself, and the justification is, well, I don't care. Well, some people really are offended. I don't give a shit. But then why do you accept all the times people tell you you're okay? That right there, it's a sign of something that needs to be dealt with. Why is it that I anytime somebody says you're killing it, I'm like, I am, thank you. I accept that 100%. This is justification for who I am. You are acknowledging my existence, and you're doing it perfectly. And somebody goes, actually, all of us think you're really offensive, and like the way you display yourself in public is disgusting, and we hate it. And I'm like, well, there's something wrong with you guys, because one other person said I'm doing it right, and that person had half their face completely blacked out by ink. That wasn't a face tattoo. Half his face was literally tattoo. But like, I'm going to take his word and accept that, but I'm not going to accept the 10 other people in the store who were all telling me I'm wrong. There's no balance. It will harm you. You will become worse off and start to just resent everybody. It's an extremely dangerous game. Again, if you just have a one pillar for you of pride or something, it's not even a good pillar to have. But if you're going to have that, you got to understand, like, it's going to suck. It's not going to support shit. 2, that in itself is going to hurt you when it falls. So it's like you're only building up a support that's going to fall onto you.
Dude, that's a perfect point, and you're right. Before we move on to, like, once you've achieved your goal, like that, we need to acknowledge that, because you're right. Like, you got to listen to feedback along the way. You got to calibrate. Whether you have the motivation or not, like if you're doing the wrong thing, or if it's not working out, like, you got to either adjust or move on. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to do. And a lot of people, like you're saying, that pride pillar, which is not one of the 4 pillars that we talked about, that pride pillar can be the tallest one. And it can't support a house on one pillar. So once that crumbles, everything else does, and maybe you spiral.
And that's the fear where a lot of people get stuck, where they have this one pillar of pride because they're like, I don't know how to deal with all my shame, so I'll mask it with pride. And that's where they get stuck, is they're literally holding up one beam and they're like, everything's going to fall. So when you go, hey, what you're doing is wrong, instead of acknowledging that, they're like, I'm trying to keep this up, so you just have to get out of my life. You're wrong, and you're basically, you're a threat to me. And because you're just so against me and the way I am. Why even hang around me? It's like, because we're friends. I care about you. I'm telling you this will hurt you. That person will keep attacking you, keep putting you down, because they're trying to make you leave. They're trying to get you away because you're attacking the only pillar that they have.
And you're also right in the aspect that you got to watch out for people being jealous of your success. That they are going to try to bring you down. But just like the example that you gave.
Well, I mean, just in general, just a person with just one pillar of pride.
Right, just pride.
I'm just saying the problem with a lot of people is it's not even just pride. They'll mask what they need to change. The self-improvement they need to change. It may in their mind just be too overwhelming. They say they can't do it. They've convinced themselves and they believe they're not getting past this. So they have found another way, and it's a fake pillar, a false pillar.
Yeah.
And the false pillars are the things they hold up, and those are the people who, if you don't agree with them and kind of, feed into them, then you're against them.
Yeah.
And that should be acknowledged too, as far as like, if you're trying to better yourself, if you're somebody out there who it's not even about listening to criticism. If you're somebody out there who's afraid of an opposing view, then like you should seriously seek help, because having a life full of control, having a life full of like self-understanding is fulfilling, and trying to run away from parts of you don't understand is about as painful as life can get. And it could be changed with just a switch in your perspective of how you view what you're going through.
And I think that's the perfect transition to the volume 3, is once you've achieved, or once you get to a point, and I want to bring back the example of what you're talking about, the artist who someone said it was really good, and he said, I can't accept your praise, because if someone tells me I'm really bad, then I can't accept that either. I'm doing this for me. That goes all the way back to volume 1 of the motivation and the why. And it surpasses what we were just talking about, where if you just have pride and you're not going to listen to anyone that tells you or gives you any criticism, tries to correct your course, then you're not going to see these things. You need to be humbled by your success and by your failures. So failures land softer. Success doesn't mean as much, because that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it to get to a point. And once you're at that point, you don't just sit back and lavish in the success that you've had. No, you go further than that. You keep going. Like, there's no end. Like we were talking fighting. It's like, once you're able to teach martial arts, like, you could keep going and become a world famous fighter, but like most people won't do that. So, they're at least humbled by where they are, and the same thing applies to anything, and that counteracts the pride aspect. Is that you have to be soft on the lows and soft on the highs to be well-rounded.
And a great segue, like you said, into that third. That is what you need, those building blocks to be well-rounded. Understanding what is being humble, understanding selflessness. When you get these main pillars down for yourself, then you can really have fun with it in step 3. And that's where you can build yourself into whatever you want, because you understand the framework. So it's kind of like anybody can just go out and try to build a house, but they could die trying to live in it. You have to understand blueprints. You have to understand construction. You have to understand earth, soil. You have to understand so many different things in order to create a foundation to even build a house properly that you can live in feel safe in, comfortable in, warm in. Like, if you want to your internal self to be your own home, a place where you can feel comfortable in, you have to understand the blueprints. You have to understand, how is a house supposed to be built? Like, I can say, well, I could just build myself to whoever I want. Okay. And it could kill you. It could all collapse onto you. And you might not be able to handle the weight when it all falls.
Yeah, and that one pride pillar.
Exactly. But if you are well-rounded, then you can say, I understand the pillars. Now, I know exactly how to follow these things I want to follow. I want to be a writer. Okay, if I want to be a writer, I now understand what it is to kind of be a good person and selflessness and all of that. So if I'm taking an approach to a book, now my first thing is, what is the message I want to get across? It's no longer, what do I want people to hear from me? It's, what do I want them to understand?
Yeah.
Now, right off the beginning, my book has a deeper heart, a deeper message. And it's just the first building block is something with substance. Instead of just my thoughts, it's, I'm trying to put my life experience into an idea through a book.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best of the best. The best books out there, that's how it starts, is I already have the idea. Maybe I could make a story around it to make it make sense. And then boom, now there's movies. Now it's a cult thing. And 50 years later, people won't shut up about it. It's like, because it encompasses what we all go through. You know, we're deep down, we all want to learn. We all want to grow, you know. So the reason this stuff stands out so much is because it is kind of like a reflection of hope to see somebody who can put themselves aside, put everyone first, and create, I mean, just art.
I have a perfect example, and I'm going to tie it to my own personal experience, and I'm going to give an example that everyone would recognize. But you know, from high school, you know, freshman age to, you know, maybe like 10 years later, I wanted to be a musician. I used to sing in a band. I played guitar. I played in about 3 or 4 bands. And, you know, I was kind of going through that middle stage where it's like I wanted something more. My goal was like to be famous or whatever. You know, that's like what you set out to do.
And you learn about Hollywood.
Well, yeah, that aside. But, you know, it's like I realized I wasn't really all that good. I mean, I was good, but like I was better than most people, but I wasn't to that level. But it didn't stop me, and I eventually kind of became at a point where I go ahead.
I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I want to say quick intermission, but like,
No, you're good. You're good.
quick intermission.
So I eventually became to a point where I was able to play music and write music, and it wasn't for the goal of something greater. It was just for the goal of being able to do that around a campfire or record a song that I wrote on my laptop or whatever, you know, and the feeling that I got from showing friends and people that I would meet my music, it was the same feeling as if I would achieved fame or whatever, and people would recognize me for my accomplishments. I was able to achieve that without being all that great and without actually, you know, really having a career or anything involving music. So, you know, I'd gone through that struggle. I got through the troubles, and I readjusted my framing, and I realized that, you know, I was humbled by where I was, and now I can pick up a guitar and I can hear a song or something and kind of jam to it and make up words, and I get a charge out of that. And then it's also I wanted to tie that into something else.
Well, I want to say real quick too, was that's exactly how it works. I got it. So what I was saying is that, you know, I always wanted to be famous, blah blah blah. I started to be a musician. I ended up just being very happy writing songs, having other people listen to them. But then you think about that guy who made that YouTube video, the guy that wrote the Richmond, north of Richmond. Richmond, yeah.
And like that was just a guy like me and maybe one day, because I kept up with my skills, because I got to the point where I'm at, what if I wrote a great song and then played it and then it went fucking viral or something? Like that guy probably was at that point in his life where he's like, I'm never going to be famous. I just do this because I love it. And then next thing he knows, he made a banger, and then he probably got at least $1 million for the views on that video alone. So that just shows you, like, you got to humble yourself, even if you're not going to be exactly what you want to be. Like, there's still reasons and benefits to doing this. And then one day, you never know what happens. If you keep that flame alive, you're going to get benefits throughout your entire life.
And that's one of the things people don't understand is what you pick up just by following that. So when you're playing guitar and you're doing this stuff, you don't realize that when you're focused on guitar, it's the hardest thing I can think to articulate, because we don't know how we learn. So when you say, I'm going to pick up a guitar, and you start your brain says, here's a guitar. I got to hit certain frets, and that makes different sounds. Then you start to understand all these different aspects of, like, I mean, just from like tone, frequency.
Yeah, all the time that you spent, and now it's your brain knows it.
Exactly. You start to reverse engineer it, and you start to kind of understand, like, how the sound works, and and what you're learning about guitar and music in general isn't something that you've ever really heard. It's not something you can be taught. It's something you have to just kind of understand, because
an accumulation.
It's almost beyond articulation.
Yeah.
It is like accumulation of experience of playing that puts together how it works, but you can't explain it to somebody else for them to just understand guitar.
Right.
It's this weird thing you gain, this deep understanding you gain just from the experience of following it. So a lot of people don't get that. It's like, if you follow your passions, and you're like, well, there's this thing, I don't see how this will help me. Well, don't worry about how it will help you. You just go through the opportunities presented to you.
Yeah, if you're worried about it helping you, then why are you doing it? Like,
yeah, maybe this guy.
What kind of help do you need?
Yeah, maybe he never wanted to be in a band or anything. It was just he loved the guitar. Maybe it was a small town, and it was just him and his buddies. And I'm not saying that's the case, because you could probably Google him and be like, the story's on there. Well, I'm not going to Google it. I'm making up my own.
Well, he probably tried for years.
But it could be a dude who's like just playing with his buddies, and then like that's all they do. They just like to play.
Yeah.
It's like, this is our video games. Like, we're not trying to go pro. We're just playing together because it's fun.
Right.
And then one day it's like it just hits you. You're like, I had a really bad moment. Everything's set in. And it kind of came together, and I could see like the weight of all these problems. And I feel like we can all agree that maybe this is the weight we're all feeling. And then he just came out with a song that he wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just like, hey guys, I think we got something here.
Yeah.
And then he just, years later, he's just like, hey, I still know how to play guitar, but it came to me, and he would not have made an impact he made if he hadn't been trying to be in a band, or just playing with his buddies for fun, or just trying to learn guitar. Like, it paid out in the end.
Right.
Even if, he thought this ain't gonna amount to nothing, or didn't intend for it to.
Yeah.
It's all about like your direction.
And I also heard that he like didn't really even want the money or something like that. Like, I haven't seen anything,
because the
about
dude
that
seems
guy.
well-rounded.
Yeah, exactly. So
He
like,
seems like a guy who's like, hey, I'm just
so
here.
that wasn't his goal.
Exactly. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
And there's no more satisfying feeling than when you see somebody make it who's like, I'm not done. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You got the whole world looking at you, and you're like, no, I'm not done. That's heavy, and it's scary. But that's the thing, it's like a lot of people look at this basic stuff, and they're like, this is too big. It's like, imagine you just writing a song, put it on YouTube, and now the whole world is asking you questions.
It was just a recording of a live show.
He was in his backyard?
Yeah, like in the middle of the woods or something.
Yeah, he's like, hey, record me. I'm going to play a song I've been writing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, Shit.
I mean, that just goes to show you. And I know you wanted to talk even some about the spiritual aspect of all this. And maybe I'd be down to give you the floor a little bit to flesh any ideas that come to mind. I mean, obviously, like, following a higher purpose or God, just God in general, just following something that helps guide you, that's going to help you with your goals. That's the spiritual pillar right there. Whether you believe in God or fucking Zeus or whatever, it's like there's something there. It motivates you. That's what we deal with. There's a spiritual aspect to all this. And, if what you're doing is like, I want to do this so I can make money, it's like, it's not the right spiritual goal. It's money for what? So you can fuck bitches and do whatever they want and snort cocaine and just, it's like, that's not a altruistic angle.
Which is kind of funny in itself, because it's like when you look at drugs and alcohol, it's like poor people shit. I'm stuck in my conditions. I'm mentally unwell. I am just fully incapable of doing anything. So what do? It's alcohol and drugs to forget my pain. And then you have people dedicating their lives to becoming rich so they can drink really expensive alcohol and do really expensive drugs. And it's like, you're just like a glorified bum. That's all you are. It's like, you're in the same situation as that guy. It's just better shit.
And that's that spiritual pillar, that's when, imagine four-cornered house, one of the pillars is weighing down. Well, that roof is going to start to lean. It's going to start to get the weight onto the weak side, and
it's the same person. They're both suffering from stuff. It's just one's willing to numb himself sucking a dick, and the other's like, I'm going to numb myself, but I'm not going to do that. I guess I'll become a millionaire. I got to get these drugs one way or another. Yeah, but really though, that's what it is. Yeah. It's, I could deal with my stuff or I could numb it, but I'm not going to be a loser doing it. So I'll become rich and famous, so nobody can tell me I'm wrong that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's problems on problems. Either you have problems and you don't want to deal with them, so you do drugs and alcohol, or you have problems, so you push yourself really hard to try to accomplish stuff so that people can't say anything or don't notice your problems.
Well, I guess.
But the better thing would be to deal with them.
Yeah.
And then you can really enjoy the other stuff.
Even vices, drugs and alcohol aside, it's like.
Celebrate with them. You don't. Yeah.
Well, if you have somebody
work
doing
hard, and then.
Yeah. But like, if you have somebody doing something for the wrong reasons, it's like that's spiritual as well. It's like it's gonna factor in, because if you're taking advantage of people, if your goal is to be rich but you're taking advantage of people, that's gonna weigh down on your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like if you start a company and then sell it and liquidate everybody and everyone gets fired and you get a couple $1 million.
And I want to say real quick, this is a big thing.
It's going to haunt you.
A big thing I want to throw in, I forgot about until you said that, is you can only lie to yourself, but we all know the truth. So if you want to run your own telemarketing thing, scamming old women for their credit cards, like, yeah, you're making money. But in order to do that, you will justify to yourself, like, well, everybody takes advantage of people every day. Either I get taken advantage of, or I'm somebody who takes advantage. The problem with that type of mentality is people don't realize the other spiritual and like their pillars, everything about you are compromising on. So now it's like a version of you who's working really hard to make ends meet, but is proud that you're able to afford your house on Thanksgiving with your family. Or the guy who has spent all this time who has instead spent the past 10 years at a telemarketing company, and he's making 7 figures, and just hires and fires people left and right, takes advantage of money. Most of his people wouldn't pass a background check, but you don't need to for this job. It's like, how is that guy, same guy, how is he going to be at Thanksgiving?
And
it's just the
right.
the moral sacrifices you make that you don't realize you're making in order to say, yes, this is a little old lady, and I deep down I know what I'm doing, but it's her fault for not,
Right.
protecting
That's
herself.
the framing and justification.
And right there, it's her fault for not protecting herself against these situations. So therefore, what I don't realize I compromise on is anybody. The justification I'm making to keep doing this is anybody who doesn't see what's right in front of them, you're asking for it. So
Right.
that is going to translate into every other area of your life where you're going to start sitting there and going up and you're going to grab that extra plate and they're like, oh, I didn't even get my first one. And you're like, hey, you should have gotten up earlier. They said food was ready a half hour ago. I ate my first plate. I'm getting my second. Should have been quicker. It's like, that's nobody talk to your niece.
And
She's hungry.
Just to bring that home to everything
No
we're
yams.
saying, it's like, it's interesting that those are the people, the people that start the telemarketing agencies. They're in shape, they're motivated for that, and the physical. They're usually somewhat smart. They've put time into that. They're successful in that. They are well connected. They have a good social life, things like that. But their spiritual pillar is shit.
Because they have
So that's
that's
the person that you're gonna meet, and you're gonna be like, wow, you're so accomplished and so cool, but you're a fucking dick, and I hate you.
And the reason for that is
I'm
because
I'm not gonna give you, maybe I have a business opportunity that you could be investor in, but I'm not gonna do it because you're an asshole.
because I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Because instead of working on yourself, you said, I'm just going to take the hurt of my life and inflict it back on the world.
Well, they worked on themselves every other way except for
But that's what I'm saying. That's what it is. Instead of working on yourself because your family or something growing up made you feel like a failure, instead of working on yourself to not be a failure, you say, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm not a failure. And now it becomes a pillar of pride where I'm going to become successful through pride, and I'll show you. I'm not going to be successful because I genuinely want to be successful. I'm going to do it to spite you, which means I'm going to cut corners. I'm not going to care. You didn't give me the morals that I needed to grow, so I'm going to use that against other people to justify becoming rich so I can rub it in your face. It's literally that childish, and people don't realize how often people will become successful just despite their parents. And when in that trajectory right there is, I'm going to step on everybody because it's purely fueled by anger and shame and just childhood trauma. Instead of saying I'm going to build a company people will respect me for, it's no, I'm going to be rich, and everybody will think you're a dick, but they respect you. So you got that one thing of the pillar down. They respect me because I have money and there's nothing they can
It's
say.
definitely not well-rounded.
Yes, and that person will collapse everything around them. That them becoming rich, it did exactly what they wanted to, what they wanted it to, and now their family's even more distant from them.
Right.
And it'll just continue to collapse everything, and they're just going to keep holding on this pillar as they watch their family and everything collapse. It's, well, I did something with myself and you guys did, and that's why you're jealous. And that's why everybody's leaving me. My life's falling apart, but my pillar is still holding things up. It's
I
sad.
mean, that's, we're kind of getting on close on time here, and we've covered a lot of things. Do you have anything to say for the spiritual aspect, like the volume 3, or do you want to give kind of closing statements or meta perspectives?
For the volume 3, I think, quite simply put, follow God. We have examples for what is the best versions of ourselves, and these are versions we can't argue with. I could sit there and say, well, I can't see myself having fun being that good of a person. Okay. You've never been that good of a person, so you're justified to make your own assumptions. But that's not an excuse to not go for it. You know, maybe it's a reason to question why what you enjoy makes you happy or is fun.
And then
it's
the
like,
humble, successful person is always the one to strive for. Is always the most impactful.
yeah, you see the guy who's like, I make money and I go to clubs and I get girls. It's like, yeah, but like you have to ask yourself, when it comes to a godly person, what are you really doing? Are your intentions to just like make yourself feel better temporarily because you're unhappy by going out and trying to take advantage of somebody while they're drunk to prove
Would
that
you rather be friends with Tony Robbins or Andrew Tate? Like who would be a better guest at your birthday with your grandmother or something? Like
who would you rather introduce to your girlfriend?
yeah.
Like realistically, Tony Robbins. Like he seems like a nice guy who might help her get over some of her own trauma. Well, Andrew Tate might try to fuck her. I'm not okay with that. Like I respect you both, but one's coming to dinner and one's not.
Yeah.
One I'll meet at the bar, but that's kind of the idea. Is who do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody that you're proud of and other people admire, or do you want to mask all your failures with shitty accomplishments and intimidate people into respecting you? What it comes down to is everything's visible. So whatever you choose, people will see. A lot of people say like, well, I became this. Yeah, but we see what you are. We see the problems underneath. It's like, do you want to be somebody who advertises they never grew up? Or do you want to be somebody who advertises, not only is there a way to grow up, there's a way to thrive in it and motivate and inspire.
Yeah.
You got to be some kind of beacon of hope. Be the change you want to see in the world. Do you want the world to be a place of competition, or do you want to be the world to be a place of sharing, where people see each other and say, hey, I want to make sure we're okay. I want to talk to you. Be that person who tries to better themselves and expand their perspective by just talking to people, because a lot of times people don't give a shit. Sometimes just a little conversation with a stranger means more to them than you could imagine, and sometimes you get out of it more than you could ever imagine.
That's very well said, dude. And I don't have any closing words really. I just would like to kind of repaint the picture, rehash everything that we've kind of gone through tonight. So, we broke this up into 3 parts, and we tried to explain it as best we could, but it's arbitrary, really. But, if you're someone who is either getting into self-improvement, is in the process of it, needs to keep going, or someone who's even achieved anything, in your life, and you feel like you have nowhere to go, just to rehash everything we talked about tonight, the first part of it is to frame your mind in the right way, overcome your psychological hurdles to starting, and really focus on what you want to achieve and the reasons why you're doing it. The why is important. And then once you get through the process, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to overcome plateaus, and you're going to have to deal with failure, and you just have to focus on your end goal, where you want to be. You have to be humble. You can't be over prideful. You have to continue to a place of discipline where you do the things that you don't want to do, knowing that you're going to get to the place that you do want to do, and you're going to look back and get the success from that. And then once you get to a point where you are successful, or where you do achieve your goals, you have to have the right attitude about it. You have to be humble, spiritually rounded, and overall, you have to use your powers for good, in a way, so to speak. You have to take your lessons and give them to someone else, or teach someone what you've learned, or somehow better the world, and not just take a selfish approach to you know, whatever you've done, whether it's luck or hard work, you know, you deserve it. And if you get to that point, then you got to treat it right, like a gift that, you know, you won a gold medal in the Olympics. You don't just flush it down the toilet or something, you know.
Gotta love yourself.
And yeah, and honestly, if you fail at something, it's okay. Just keep trying, keep bettering yourself. Self-improvement is a lifelong journey. It's never going to stop. As soon as you stop, you're going to stagnate, and your life is going to suffer in ways that you can start to see. But you know, well, I'd be down to talk about more of this kind of stuff in the future.
I'd like to do like a 3-part series.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time we've done one of these, and
It's good. I liked it.
there's a lot of layers to it. I think that could get divided up a little bit into a clear. I mean, you could decide for this yourself, but I feel like we could clean this up into a nice little program.
Yeah, there's more stuff to go into.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, like for my closing, like the first step really is belief. It is recognizing all of the things that you tell yourself you can't do and reprogramming that. That's too hard. Wait, why is that too hard? What makes that too hard? What experience do I have to believe that's too hard? How can I break this down to a point where I realize it's not that hard? How do I change my view of this? This is too scary. How do I change that? How do I get more strength? What is confidence? You know, really ask these questions, really notice where you lack and try to fill those spots. Don't just say, well, I lack in confidence. Okay. Well, your brain is like a supercomputer, so why don't you go into that supercomputer and try to dig through it, do research online, do whatever you can to figure out, well, what is confidence? And the more research you'll do, you'll start to kind of understand it. And then you can say, well, what am I missing? Well, I already know aspects of what I'm missing from researching confidence. I'm starting to get an idea of how this whole thing works. So maybe the fact that I tell myself I can't do something is a lack of confidence. So if I start telling myself I can, the more you understand the problem you have, the easier it is to get rid of the problem. And that's what I'm saying for the step 1. Once you complete that and you're like, I've gotten myself to a point where I believe I can do anything. I don't have obstacles. I have faces. I could talk about it in public. Why? Because, well, that'd be really hard. Yeah, but I want to see how I'm going to get out of it. I went from being afraid of putting something out there because I didn't know the outcome to, I still don't know the outcome, but I'm excited to see how I get out of it because I have confidence to back me now. Without confidence, I'm scared. But when you really look at the things, the qualities you have that you lack in, and try to understand your weaknesses, it'll help you understand your strengths better, and it'll help teach you how to transform your weaknesses into strengths. Once you become more well-rounded and you're like, I'm strong on every forefront, even my weaknesses got a little padding to them. At that point, that's where you can start to move up. That's where you can start to rebuild yourself. That's where you can start to shape yourself into somebody. And to me, that step 2 is, it leads you to step 3, because as you build yourself, you start to notice problems and you're like, well, I already fixed all this stuff. Where are these problems coming from? Problems come from you're selfish, you're prideful, you're this, you're that. Okay, I have to fix these things. And then the step 3 is, okay, I understand what is right and what is wrong, and now I feel I'm a good person. So now as I go forward with this program, I'm going to do that with the intentions of keeping myself in check, as if I was the whole world watching me do this.
Yeah.
How would I want to present this? Do I want to present this in a way that makes me money under the table that nobody sees? Or do I want to be somebody that feels like the whole world's watching me? How am I going to do it then? You know, what is the right way to do this? You know, these are the questions you should ask and the questions you should care about. If you want to be a better person and you want to get better at things, it's not about, how do I talk to women better? This doesn't help me. No, learning to be a better person will help you talk to women better. because maybe you can't
100%.
talk to women well because you're not a good person.
Yeah. That's well said, man. All right, we're gonna explore more of these ideas in the future. If you guys liked the video tonight, please give the channel a follow and the video a like. Definitely leave the comment if you felt like anything connected with you tonight. Give us your experience. We'll respond to you. In the future, we might have live callers, things like that. We have before, so you could always talk about it anonymously. And you can always join the chat because we can see and will respond to anything you guys say.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and if you guys ever have any other topic ideas or things that you want discussed on here, and you want to be a part of that conversation, we're open to it all. A meta perspective is not meta
Without your perspective.
Come on, guys, join.
Meta Perspective Podcast.